Hi everybody, and welcome to another wing review. Today we're going to talk about the Gong Pulse in 5 meters. Alright, before we get started, if you like our content and like to follow us, you can subscribe clicking that button down here. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can always buy us a coffee. The link will be in the description below. Thanks again for watching, so let's go. Gong is a French company that have been around for quite some time. They've been making kites, they've been making foils, and now they're making wings. They have quite good marketing and they're quite popular because they are cheap. They are a direct sales brand, which means they cut out all the distributors and the shops so that they can sell to the end consumer at a fairly cheap price. The question obviously is it worth it? So what I've done is I have gone out and bought the Pulse 5 meter, and we're going to have a look at it now. So what do you get when you buy it? It's fairly sparse. You get the wing, you get the bag, you get a repair kit, and you get an adapter and some spare parts. You do not get a leash. This is my own leash. I've put it on. You do not get a pump. The bag is fairly nice. It's pretty much the same as you're used to for any kite bags. It's easy to put your pump on, and it's got enough space later on for the spars that you have to put in on the wing to make it fly properly. The material choice on this is built for strength. You have a triple ripstop for the cloth, you have vinyl windows, and you have a fairly heavy-duty Dacron on the leading edge. Gong says that they're using Teijin cloth. However, they do not have any Teijin badges on the wing to prove that. So let's talk a little bit more about the construction. There are Cordura protection pads along all the seams on the outside, and then a massive patch all along the wingtip. This is actually really good if you're going to take it on land, you're going to go wing skating, and you're walking across a reef or something, anywhere where you could possibly touch the wingtip. The wingtip is actually really well protected. The leading edge is really well protected, with one exception. The pocket for the fiberglass spar has no real protection up here. You can see that. This basically is a non-reinforced area. This is where the pocket ends, and the spar itself does not have anything other than a small little piece of tape over the end to protect it. It's still fairly sharp, so if you have too many hard crashes, this spar might actually pop out either through the front or through the back of that pocket. It's just lucky that this spar is not usually under a lot of tension, but just be aware that this is a weak area and that in a crash you might actually be able to damage the pocket with the spar. The leash attachment point is a braided Dyneema line that is sewn into the front tube on those 2 points. You can see both points here where the line comes through. It has one protection patch on the inside and then is overlapped again with the 2 Cordura patches and this EVA patch over the top. It feels like it's strong enough to withstand quite a lot of pull. For inflation and deflation, the Pulse has a standard Boston valve that is similar to what you will find on the Ozone and some other kites. It comes with a screw-on adapter, which is nice. It means that the pump hose does not pump off. The cap is secured here with just a normal, like, flying line braided Dyneema, and you have a Velcro cap to protect the canopy from the valve. Be careful not to over tighten the top cap. There was one time I really tightened it up and I couldn't actually open it up again without tools. So make sure the bottom one is relatively good tightened. Tighten the top one, but don't overdo it. If you have any damages to the bladders, this is the zip access to get at the front tube, and obviously you can access the strut tube through the back of the strut. Gong recommends a fairly high pressure for their wings. They want you to inflate it between 8 and a maximum of 10 psi. The fairly thin tube from the one pump system makes deflating it slightly difficult. You have to spend some time deflating the strut. I actually recommend, just like on the Ozone, rolling up the strut from tail end, from the trailing edge all the way up here first, and then rolling up the rest of the wing. Another thing on the one pump, they have your normal one pump clip, which a lot of brands don't have, that you can clip off the center strut, just in case you get a front leading edge deflation, you won't lose the air from the strut. The thing that you notice first about the construction of this is that it's heavy. This 5 meter weighs 3.8 kilos without the leash. That is almost double that of an Ozone 5 meter, an Ozone Wasp 5 meter, or a Swing 5 meter. This is from having a lot of heavy duty handles. The handles are quite comfortable, but they have fairly hard rubber on the inside, and you've got quite a lot of them. This 5 meter here has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 handles on the strut and 3 handles on the main tube. The main tube itself is a fairly medium diameter. It's a lot thinner than the Ozones, but it is thicker than, for example, the Biniasch. Another feature on these is obviously that you have these fiberglass spars that are here to keep the profile stable in the back. All of this adds to weight, and I gotta say, this is by far the heaviest wing in its size that I've tried in the last year. The Pulse, as you can see, like most of the other wings, has a profile skin above the struts, which lets it have a bit of a thicker profile. It has a hole through here to let the water pass through after a crash and when you're riding the wing. Along the strut you have a bunch of labels. Got full power handle, transfer handle, another transfer handle, a low power handle, full power handle, mega boost handle, and another transfer handle in the back if you're doing back-winded tricks and flipping tricks. Now I found that the low power and the full power handles are slightly mislabeled. I found that, especially in light wind, that if I wanted to get more power out of the wing, I was actually using the low power handle more when pumping to get more power. You can see here you have the position for the fiberglass spars. They stabilize the back of the wing. The front part is not really doing much. I have ridden these without the spars, and it doesn't make a big difference for low end power, but in the high end it stabilizes the wing quite a bit. All right, so let's talk about how this rides. First off, I'd just like to talk about the low end. The low end on the Pulse is actually one of the best on the market. It gets going with very little wind and it pumps really well. That's thanks to its very stiff and rigid construction. There's no give when you pump it. You really feel that there is power coming in when you pump it. Their wingtips do not bend away. When you're in the high end of the wing and you're trying to go upwind or you're trying to go a bit faster, the extra weight of the wing becomes very apparent and it gets unstable. I had issues with the wingtips constantly getting caught. That's also added to the fact that the wing has a bit more wingspan than most of the other wings on the market, and it also has a weird wing shape where that basically extends outwards and not sort of parallel to the water or even inwards like some of the other wings. So it has a tendency to catch up on the water if you're not careful. And also through the weight, you have to constantly keep pressure on your backhand and pushing your backhand down to keep the nose up of the wing to prevent it from nosediving when you are going faster. I also found that this for some reason limited the top end speed that I could go. It just wouldn't ever sort of kick into the next gear and allow me to go very fast. Let's talk a little bit about the handles. The handles are really nice and solid. They give you a good connection to the wing. They are, however, quite hard in the middle, and there's a lot of them, which adds to the weight. You have a very good connection. You always feel that it's easy to hold on to. There is no protection for your fingers underneath the handles on the strut or on the leading edge. And this is no more apparent than on the surf handle or this middle handle here. This middle handle actually is quite shallow compared to the handles on the strut, and there's nothing really protecting your hand when you're surfing. Because you can see here, this is all Cordura, and it's a fairly rough material. And then also you can see as I'm holding it here that my hand is pushing up against this part of the leading edge. As there's no protection here, and also because of the position of the handle being sort of underslung on the leading edge, my hand is always resting up against this and rubbing against it, and that gets very uncomfortable for your knuckles. It would have been a better choice to have put this handle higher up. It would have made the balance for surfing a bit better and also would have protected your hands a bit better. And again, there's nothing here protecting your hands. If you are riding down a wave with onshore cross onshore wind and you don't have a lot of speed, the wing has a tendency to drop down in front of you, and you have to really hold it up. I tend to actually hold it by the first transfer handle here. I hold it up in front of me to surf, as if I hold it by the surf handle, it has a tendency just to drop its trailing edge down in front of the board. In cross shore conditions or cross off conditions, that is not a big problem. There you have enough apparent wind for it to fly by itself. However, wings like the F1 Swing or the Ozone Wasp are a lot more comfortable to handle in those conditions. The next point I'd like to talk about is the windows on these. These are vinyl windows, so they do tend to crease quite a bit. The windows I actually got had some weird sticky stuff on them, and they immediately sort of gummed up a bit. The positioning of these is a bit of a thing. When I'm riding, when the wing is at a 45-degree angle, I cannot actually see the bottom window at all. So that bottom window is fairly useless, and the top window shows me only the sky. To actually see what's going on downwind, I actually need to drop down the wing so I can see through the window. It would have been a better idea to have the windows positioned slightly farther away down towards the tip, and this would have given me some vision as I'm in normal sort of cruising or flying mode. As is with the Pulse, I actually do need to drop down the wing to actually see what I'm doing, or again lift up so I can see under the wingtip to see what's going on. All right, so in conclusion, the Gong Pulse is a great step from last year's wing that they had. I really liked the low end of the wing. However, the extra weight from the Pulse compared to other wings makes it very hard to control in higher winds. It is tiring on the arms, and also surfing with it in lighter winds where you have cross on or onshore winds is quite difficult through that. The construction is, let's say it's equal to the money you pay. It's not great. They have saved quite a lot of money. There's no hot cutting on the protection panels, and doesn't look like there's any on the other panels too. The windows are, for me, they are virtually useless. You really actually need to change position of the wing while you're riding to see through them. Is it worth the 600 and something euros that you pay for it? It's okay. It is not the best. You will probably outgrow it fairly quickly. But if you're looking for a cheap wing to get into it, especially for lighter winds, the Gong Pulse will be okay for you. Thanks for watching. Remember to subscribe to the channel by clicking on this corner over here. If you would like to support the channel, remember that you can always buy us a coffee. Stay tuned. There's a lot more reviews coming. Thanks for watching. See you on the water. Rock on.